Welcome to the Soul Archaeology podcast, a space for connection, resonance, witnessing, and learning. Together we'll harvest medicine from the spiral of life, sharing conversations with other embodied humans who have navigated their own initiations and found alignment with their true soul essence. With weekly astrology, energy updates, embodied conversation, and channeled teachings, this is a space for you to land and find resonance with the spiral of your own soul. Hello, welcome back to Soul Archaeology. I come to you from the land of water. It feels like we're all just swimming in the deep end. It's really incredible. I mean, I know I do this podcast every week and I study astrology and I've tracked it for many years, and it never ceases to amaze me how accurate it is. And sometimes it surprises me and things unfold in different ways than I thought they would. And, for me personally and then even collectively, and other times it's just so exactly spot on. And anytime I look back, even if it's something unexpected, I'm like, oh, of course, that makes sense. And I love tracking astrology because I think it is so helpful to have context for what we're moving through, because we're in a wild time, collectively, individually. It can feel incredibly chaotic. It can feel jarring and maybe confused and quite untethered. So knowing that that's just the nature of now can be so helpful. And this week in particular, really the whole month of July, I did a whole episode last week. I can't believe that was last week. It literally feels like a few days ago. Time is moving so quickly. In a weird way, it's really stretchy. It's like very slow and very fast at the same time. But I did a whole episode on the energy of July and kind of generalize this weaving basket that we're moving into this week officially. So I want to go a little bit deeper into that. I want to talk about the energy of Cancer and how it's serving at this time with the Mercury retrograde in Cancer and this new moon in Cancer that's unfolding this week. But also weaving in how these outer planet activations and aspects are really wiring new framework in the unseen realms, in the quantum field. And it's interesting. I mean, there's just, Cancer season is always a little interesting because we have the first dark house activation of the zodiac. So we move from the first, the second, the third house into the fourth house. And the fourth house is the first dark house. And it's where we experience our first descent, where we dive into our unconscious, the underworld. We dive into our history, our past. We go backwards. And on this podcast, we would say we go deeper along the spiral. We never go backwards necessarily. That's looking at it in a linear way, but in the quantum way, we're moving through the spiral. In Cancer season is definitely a descent. And so that's further emphasized this July because we have Mercury retrograding through Cancer. So it's going through its own descent. And Mercury is such a close planet, something we feel and sense and engage with so often just in our daily lives. So it's something we notice. And for me, I'm noticing so much of this past resurfacing and the deep heart work and the attunement to my inner child and balancing that with the attunement to the child that I'm carrying. I'm due in November. And so there's this whole mother network that's online for me, and it's rewiring and it's upgrading, and it's just incredibly dynamic and deep and potent and griefy and exciting and all the things. And I know many others are experiencing that too. You don't have to be pregnant to be doing the mothering work right now. It is incredibly amplified in the field. And I did, we had our 8th vessel session on Friday, which was so beautiful. I love our vessel members so much. It's been just the most incredible journey so far. and the most amazing people. So we had our session, it was focused on the mother and mothering and where we come from. And this is the essence of Cancer season. If there's anything we all have in common, is that we all come from a womb. We all come from a woman. We all come from a mother. We come from a human mother. We come from the great mother. We come from the earth mother. We come from our inner mother. And so this is this downward spiral into the mother network within us. And what lies there is deep and penetrating and painful and beautiful. It has some of the deepest, most potent, beautiful layers of the human experience woven into the space. So there's a lot happening here. We have the sun, Mercury, and now the moon moving into Cancer this week. So on July 12th, we have Mercury retrograde cazimi. A cazimi is when the sun meets with another planet, when a planet passes through the heart of the sun. And we have two different types of cazimis. We have retrograde and non-retrograde cazimis. This one in particular is a Mercury retrograde cazimi. And so this is starting a whole new ascension process of the mind, of the heart. We move pretty quickly from there, 2 days later, into our new moon in Cancer. And this is a very early new moon in Cancer. So it's the very early hours of July 14th. So Mercury will be pretty close to this new moon in Cancer. This new moon in Cancer is at 21 degrees. Mercury retrograde is at 19 degrees. July 13th, kind of wedged in that in between, we have Venus squaring Uranus. Venus is already active with the lunar nodes, and squaring Uranus is bringing us deeper into our karmic work. I'll talk more about that in a moment. On July 15th, we have the exact sextile between Uranus and Gemini and Neptune and Aries at 4 degrees. I talked all about this 4-degree basket that's being woven throughout July and what that means in the last episode. So I encourage you to go back to that if you haven't already. And then on July 17th, this basket gets another weaving, and Pluto in Aquarius trines Uranus and Gemini at 4 degrees. Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. And so there's this deeper weaving happening. And this whole basket is woven from really the 15th until the 26th of July. And things really accelerate towards the end of July because we have Mercury stationing direct. We have Jupiter really beginning to pick up speed. We have the lunar nodes shifting into Leo and Aquarius. We have eclipse season in August. So this week is a little bit slower. We still have this Mercury retrograde happening. We have this new moon in Cancer. And this is kind of the paradox of July, is there's this slowness of the sun moving through this deep, watery Cancer. And we have Mercury pulling back. We have Neptune that just stationed retrograde as well. We have this slowing down, which is actually incredibly helpful because on the sort of wider scale, we have incredible fast energy. We started the month with the Uranus-Mars conjunction, which was volatile and fast and incredibly shocking. It's important to remember, even if nothing happened in your life or even collectively that you can notice that was fast or abrupt, there's so much shifting beneath the surface. And I always say that when we're talking about outer planet aspects, because it might not be something we notice in our daily life. It might not be something that we are ready to be conscious of even. There are seeds being planted. There are moves being made beneath the surface in your unconscious spaces that you don't really need to know about quite yet. And that's why I keep saying, ride the waves of July. Yes, it is. If there's something that you really need to take action on, go for it. But this is much more of a journey of riding the waves, being with the tides, letting them wash over you, processing, feeling, emoting as it comes up, creating space to feel. And we won't be able to escape our feelings this month, and nor should we. They're signals and signs and data from our inner landscape. They provide insight, They provide direction where we have something unprocessed, something that wants to be moved. Where we get in trouble is when we apply too much meaning to our feelings, when we let our feelings direct and control our actions, when we move, act, make decisions from our feelings. But our feelings are beautiful. And so I always say, move with your feelings, let them move through you, dance, intuitive movement, walking, swimming, just simple intuitive movements, pushing against a wall or laying on the ground and rolling around until a cry comes out. This is where emotional mastery comes in, and we get to be a participant in life without being run by our emotions. And I think if we all could sort of rewire to develop this practice of moving with the emotion, moving the emotion through you before responding or reacting, the world would be a completely different place. This is why I think we're trying to work towards this conscious warrior, this mastery of our emotions, because it allows us to be present and it allows us to be sovereign and embodied. It allows us to move from the present rather than the past, and therefore create entirely new realities all the time. It's pretty incredible. So we have this Mercury retrograde cazimi in Cancer on July 12th. This is, of course, a time of illumination. When the sun is activating something else, there's an illumination happening. Light is consciousness. The sun is the center of our solar system. So it's awakening something within us. It's illuminating something. This is sort of a reset period. So when we have a Mercury retrograde cazimi, it means we're at the halfway point of the Mercury retrograde. We begin to move out of the sort of deeper layers of this retrograde period, and we start to gain a little bit more awareness. It might feel like, okay, I'm seeing these things. I'm seeing what's coming and surfacing from the past. I'm noticing what's here, what's available. I'm moving with it. I'm feeling it. But I also have a little bit more awareness of what's happening. The fact that this is a retrograde time, the fact that this isn't happening in the present moment necessarily, but that there's a weaving here. So I think Mercury retrograde cazimis are really helpful in really working with a Mercury retrograde period. I feel like Mercury retrograde periods are incredible opportunities to do some very deep rewiring work. I personally have felt really activated through this time. It's really brought me into my inner layers around mothering and my inner child and desires and attunement and attuning to my own needs. And where I so often default to expecting those needs to be met by someone else. Now, that's not to say someone else can't meet our needs, but to have the expectation that they will does not necessarily land us where we want to be. It creates this almost immediate disappointment. So the beauty is that we can meet the needs of our inner child, and then we can have our needs met as our adult self by people around us, which is beautiful. So it's just interesting with this Mercury retrograde. Cancer is the sign of the past. Like I said, it's the fourth house. It tells us where we come from. It brings us into memory, into the past, into the emotional body, into the places we've already been. Because we know evolution is not a linear process. It's a spiralic process. We leave the past behind, we become someone new, we move forward, but nature doesn't evolve in a straight line, it spirals. And neither do we. We return to familiar places and experiences from a different level of consciousness, ideally. We can encounter old memories with a new capacity. That's how we heal. That's inner child work. Cancer holds the emotional history of our lives. And through a more somatic lens, memory is not simply cognitive. The body remembers, the nervous system remembers, our fascia, the emotional body remembers. We can totally forget the details of an experience and still organize our lives around what that experience taught us. It lives in the subconscious, it lives in the body. So it's projecting our reality. So this work of this Mercury retrograde cazimi is to bring us into those layers, It's a point of clarity. It's a point of illumination. Where do you have Cancer in your chart? This is where you'll feel it. Healing is spiralic. We come back around. We find ourselves in a familiar relationship dynamic, a familiar fear, a familiar emotional response, a familiar feeling. And then the mind creates this story and it says, oh my gosh, we're going backwards. I thought I healed this. This means that because it meant that in the past. But what really is happening is there's an invitation here to meet something with a new level of consciousness. You're not back in the same place. You're meeting the same material from another level along the spiral. So there's more awareness here. There's more capacity. There's more resources. There's more choice and agency. And this is what I always tell people. The material may be similar, but you are different. And returning is often how we harvest the medicine. Sometimes we need to go backwards many, many, many times, or deeper, I should say, to retrieve that part over and over again. I always say healing is a practice that we develop. It's like yoga. We have to show up to the mat in order to grow, in order to evolve, in order to feel more strong. And just like healing, we have to meet these inner child parts. We have to meet the past. We have to meet our memories over and over and over again and prove that something's different this time in order to truly evolve through the spiral, which leads us into this new moon in Cancer at 21 degrees. And I'm calling this the spiral moon. The sun and moon are both conjunct Mercury retrograde. So this new moon is meeting with Mercury retrograde, which means 2 days after this cazimi, there's this reset point. There's this death and rebirth process happening. A new lunar cycle is emerging. We're in this great womb space. The next few days, of course, are the dark moon. We're leading up to a new moon where the moon is rebirthed, but there's a lot of unconscious material here. Usually we think about a new moon as a fresh start, a new beginning, but this new moon is full of history. It's full of memory. It's full of information. It's full of things that we've experienced before, because that's the nature of Cancer. It rules our ancestry. It rules the roots that we come from, the land we come from, our mothers, the womb. We're not meant to abandon that. We're meant to integrate it. That's what Cancer teaches us. It teaches us to meet our feelings, to meet our emotions, to meet our experiences so that we can become deeper, so that we can grow, so that we can evolve, so that we can become our own vessels and our own channels and our own womb for new beginnings. I have a feeling this new moon will bring forward material from the past so that you might be able to see it from a new perspective, so that perhaps you can meet it and integrate it in a new way. Perhaps you can bring this new level of consciousness that you have from navigating all you've navigated over the last year to this new moon, to this feeling, to this experience. Cancer is the archetype of the mother. This is her new moon. We think about the moon rules Cancer itself. It rules the sign of Cancer. So this is a very lunar moon. It represents the mother, the literal mother, our human mother, the internal mother, our inner mother. The earth is mother, the great mother. It rules belonging, the ways we're held, the ways we were not held, the ways we're learning to hold ourselves, our relationship with receiving, dependence, vulnerability, belonging, home. This moon will ask and give us an opportunity to rewire our needs. What happened when you had a need as a child? What happened when you cried? What happened when you were afraid? What happened when you reached for connection? What is your relationship with your own internal landscape, your own inner child? This is a remothering moon. This is an opportunity to rewire our experiences of being held, of being cared for, of being nurtured, of being seen, of feeling safe, of feeling emotive internally. Because at a certain point in our development, the mother work becomes internal. We begin building the inner structures that may not have existed for us earlier. The capacity to stay with our experiences, the capacity to stay with our emotions, the capacity to attune to our own emotions and internal experiences. That is no one else's responsibility as adults. It's not even our human mother's responsibility. If it happens, beautiful, but it is our responsibility as adults to remother and refather ourselves so that we can move from our adult self more often, so we can strengthen that muscle, so that we can show up in the world embodied and whole. I see so many people operating from their inner child in their relationships, and it never works. Sure, it's beautiful to have someone see and witness that part of you, but it's not their work or responsibility to meet that part for you. If you bring it forward with awareness and love and openness and vulnerability, and it's met, that's so beautiful. But we cannot expect our partners, our friends, our family to reparent for us. It's our job. It's our responsibility to become a safe container for our own lives. This is the mature Cancer archetype. This is how we connect with others, how we have intimacy, how we have healthy attachment without heart walls. So this new moon will show us where we still are working on our own internal mother, our own inner mother work, remothering. It has been so clear to me throughout this month so far where my work lies within this. And this goes much deeper than just, the mother wound related to our human mother. This goes into our sense of belonging in the world. It goes to our connection with the great mother, with something that can hold and contain us. There's also still this interaction with Saturn and Aries. Mercury retrograde is moving backwards, so it's getting, into more of a tight square to Saturn and Aries, and that's all about self-responsibility. That's why I'm kind of bringing that layer in, because it's saying, who are you choosing to become? Are you conscious of your inner authority? Are you adulting? Are you operating from your adult self or the inner child? We can really honor our experiences of the past. We can honor why a pattern developed while also recognizing that we've outgrown it. We can have compassion for that adaptation, that survival system, and that survival mechanism, and still choose something different. And this is where I see people get stuck time and time and time and time again. This is the point where the real healing happens, when we can take responsibility for our present moment and what we're choosing. And even saying that I can go back and rewire those experiences to choose differently in this present moment. That is our work. That's what Saturn in Aries is saying. It's saying we actually have the keys. We're actually in control. We're in the driver's seat. So what are we choosing? Are we choosing the past, or are we choosing the present, the future? Sneaky, sneaky victim consciousness is so real. Where are we looking to be saved by a parent, an inner parent? This is not conscious. This is unconscious. Where are we waiting to be saved when we weren't before? I'm telling you, that waiting space will keep you trapped in victim consciousness. It will keep you trapped in loops. It will keep you trapped in believing that you have no agency or control or sovereignty in your life. I've seen these funny little meme things. I don't even know what they're called. I think they're memes, or maybe reels. Maybe it's a trend I saw on social media where it was like, everyone says no one's coming to save me, but my parents coming to save me. Or my mom, is on her way or something. And, I think it's just highlighting the fact that people have, strong relationships with their parents. But at the end of the day, no one's coming to save you. That's the true reality. And it's confronting, and that's why we choose not to live in that experience. But when you liberate yourself through that knowing, everything changes. And Cancer has a tendency in its shadow to wall up, to become closed off, to create this victim narrative that no one can see me, no one loves me, I'm always giving more, all of that stuff. And I know this because I have a Chiron in Cancer. So I get this life. And it wasn't until I said, oh, that's actually living in a perpetual state of victim consciousness. I changed that reality. That's what I think. this new moon in Cancer is here to help us do. This Mercury retrograde in Cancer is here to help us develop a strong inner authority, strong inner containment, so that we can be with our emotions. We have the capacity to be with our experiences. We have the capacity to meet them without projecting them, so that we can grow and evolve in the ways that this basket is weaving for us. We're about to catapult into a new timeline. We can't bring our old past patterns and narratives and victim stories with us. It won't work. We have Venus conjunct the South Node. We have this squaring to Uranus occurring. And this is fast, cataclysmic. This is incredibly punchy and potent. And Venus and Virgo is all about facts and values and structure. Things are sobering up. The South Node has been moving through Virgo since the January of 2025. So this is asking for us to sober up. Saturn in Aries is asking for us to sober up. We are the architects of our reality. And the more and more and more we believe that and download that and really start to take ownership over that, the faster we evolve, the faster life changes, the faster reality changes around us. I am not at all saying this is easy, by the way. I spend my days working with people on this. I am constantly working on this myself. This is a practice, not a destination. But the awareness is what allows us to practice it every day. It has to be something I'm constantly reminding myself of. And Uranus this week is active. We have on the 15th, like I said, this basket starts to weave or starts to tighten, really. It's weaving because it's been weaving for quite some time. But on the 15th, Uranus in Gemini forms an exact sextile to Neptune in Aries at 4 degrees. This is breaking down layers of illusion, but it's also creating architecture for the new world, for the new way, the new earth, our new reality, our new architecture within. And then it's forming a trine 2 days later to Pluto in Aquarius. So this new architecture is building. This is quite literally a reset point. We call this the Barbault Basket because the astrologer, Barbault, said this would be a reset point for humanity. But it's not just collective, it's internal as well. So when we press the reset button, which is happening on this larger scale, right? These deeper levels of these outer planets, what reality are we choosing? That's what this Cancer new moon and this Mercury retrograde in Cancer is saying. Are we creating the past? Are we imprinting the past again? Or are we creating something new? There's this new architecture forming, of course, collectively. This is a whole new era. So this isn't something that happens overnight. This is architecture. Like I said, this is a whole basket being woven of new consciousness coming online that will quite literally define an entire era. But what we're doing on an individual level, on a collective level as well, but we're going back into the past. Go back, remember, retrieve, rewire. This is powerful. This is chop wood, carry water energy. This isn't, oh my God, I need to figure out the next 10 years in 5 days because we have this super potent energy portal that we're in. No, this is what can I meet in this exact moment in a new way? How would I have met it before? Can I meet it differently this time? Is there something here that needs my attention? Am I operating from the ego, from the inner child, from the victim consciousness, or am I operating from my sovereign adult self? We spiral backward, we retrieve, we integrate, and we carry it forward. This is the work. And this is work. The stuff that's happening is happening behind the scenes on a deeper level. This is rewiring our collective consciousness. We don't have to be in the inner workings of that. Don't get lost in the duality and the polarity. Don't get lost in the communism and socialism and the fascism. Don't get lost in that. What are you participating in? Get lost in that. Get lost in these tiny details of how are you moving through life? What are you choosing? Where are you creating from? Because every strand that you weave becomes a collective weaving as well. We're breaking down to rebuild something new, and it's not pretty. This is a messy space. The summer is chaotic and wild, and it's revealing a lot. So be gentle, be patient if you can. I know it's a lot, but we're headed somewhere. We really are. And the card I pulled today for our community, for the Soul Archaeology community, which is the best community, by the way, from the Untamed Elemental deck, is the Gazelle card. And it says change of direction. Gazelle dances across the continental horizon, alert, light of foot, and vibrating with unopposed grace. His beauty is a spell cast upon the world. He approaches his environs with vigilance and is protected by the safety of the herd. As one, they strive with confidence and bravery, surviving via telepathic, innate communication. Gazelle's capacity for imaginative improvisation allows him to outsmart and outrun his predators. His name comes from the Arabic word ghazal, meaning love poem. And this light and fast animal is drawn to you when it's time to change direction. When manifesting a desired outcome, there are phases when progress is slow or altogether absent. Gazelle suggests that sometimes a solution comes through a sudden shift in perspective. A fresh and even drastically changed outlook offers great inspiration. Move decisively in a new direction, and you have the opportunity to fall back in love with your original vision. Gazelle is a love poem, spontaneous and full of heart. As you begin to embody these qualities, there is room for unimagined possibilities to emerge. When it's balanced, you feel flexible in your process and agile. When it's imbalanced, you feel stagnant, lethargic, listless, and indecisive. To bring into balance, write a love poem to your vision. I love that. It's a beautiful reminder, especially during these Uranian times, to be light afoot. Thank you, as always, for being here. I always appreciate the feedback, the shares. When you share on social media, it means the world to me. When you share with a friend or family member, I have gotten to meet so many of you over the last few years, clarity calls and just through messages, and it's just been such a gift. So I'm so grateful you're here. Thank you for taking your time listening. I've also been having a lot of fun on Substack. Substack is I don't know. It's very clean. The algorithm is beautiful. It's really a wonderful space. And I've been sharing over there like I used to share on Instagram, photos and stories and memories. And it's been so fun. So be sure to follow me on Substack. If you don't have Substack, I don't know. I mean, not to encourage you to get another app to stay on your phone longer, but it might be an inspired space for you. So would love to have you there. You can be a paid subscriber for $8 a month. You can also be free, and sometimes I release free articles, but I do deeper dives on specific transits. So I just did a really deep dive on Jupiter and Leo and what that really means and the significance of it, how to work with it based upon your rising sign. I did a deeper dive on Chiron and Taurus. So join me over there. It's fun. And thank you for being here. I hope you have a beautiful week. Happy new moon.